You ever been to church on Christmas Eve? If you have, you've seen it happen at least a few times. You know that Christmas Eve tradition where we get all the children and put them in a Christmas Eve play and we reconstruct the nativity and we get children to play Joseph and Mary and dress them in sheep costumes and do all these things. And we see it over and over and over, and we do it because children are so adorable. And because we as parents and grandparents want to get out our phones and our cell phones and show people how wonderful and how beautiful our children are. And so we show them off on Christmas Eve. And there's so many scenes and so many things. And there's always that scene where these neophyte Joseph and Mary are coming into town and they come to a door. It's usually just a single prop standing off to the side of the stage. It's a door that is probably a Home Depot leftover or came off of somebody's house, but the knob still turns, and this young Mary and Joseph come to the door and they knock on it and the door opens. And another guy, equally as young, just stands there, a young boy, and he looks at him and just shakes his head and points him off in another direction. And we think back to what we know in Luke 2:7, the verse that says, "And there was no room for them at the inn." And in our cultural interpretation, we interpret this as being the first time that Jesus is rejected, as the first time that he's pushed away, because we think about the Hilton here and the Marriott there and the Red Roof in there and even the Motel 6 that's leaving a light on for us and not being space. And Mary and Joseph are rejected. But I think if we look a little closer, we might see something a little different that happened in Bethlehem. That word Bethlehem, that town, it means house of bread. It was the place where David was born. And the prophets had told us that the king, the Messiah, would come out of the line and lineage of David. And Joseph has traveled there with Mary, because Joseph is of the house and lineage of David. Now, Joseph lives a long way away. He lives in this forsaken village out in the middle of nowhere that is looked down on and despised, called Nazareth. It's 80 miles away, but Joseph, or Joseph's father, had been born in Bethlehem. He was of the house and the line of David, and now he lived all these miles away, and he was betrothed to Mary. Betrothal was the second of the three-step process that involved getting married in those days, and the vows have been said. It's all done except for the actual being together. And in fact, from the time the vows are said until they will be together, it's a 1-year wait. And then the bridegroom is supposed to come and surprise the bride and take her away in the middle of the night. And they consummate the marriage. And Joseph gets the big surprise. You've got to go register and you've got to be taxed. And you got to go to Bethlehem, this little town, like the song says, of 100 or maybe 200 people. So Joseph goes and he surprises Mary and he says, come, and maybe in those moments he's going, this is it, I'm going to bring the marriage to its completion, but we've got to travel first because she's already pregnant with a child. And he knew the story of the child and she knew the story of the child, but they had to go. And we don't know how long it took to travel, Mary riding on a donkey. It's a 4-day walk usually. And it could have taken 4 days, it could have taken more. All we know is that when they arrive in Bethlehem, they are tired. They are bedraggled. They need rest. They need quiet. Mary is soon to have this baby. And there are people everywhere. The streets are filled with people. And we interpret this story when they come to this inn and are turned away because of our cultural understanding that we have to say that they are rejected. And that is so far from the truth. They come and there are people laying everywhere in the streets, in rooms, on floors. And there are people that are all of the house and lineage of David. These are relatives of Joseph. And they see Joseph and they see Mary and they say, oh my goodness, we can't just let you sleep in the street. She's going to have a child. We must find a place for her. And they start to look and one of them says, hey, the stable at the inn. You could stay with the animals. It'll be peaceful. Yeah, they'll make a lot of noise, but they'll sure smell a lot better than all these travelers do. So why don't you go stay there, Joseph and Mary? And they go. And we don't know how long they were there until Jesus was born. We don't know how many days passed, or even a week or two, but we know that they were there. And we know that people said, you are family. You are special. And while she's there, the scripture tells us the days are accomplished that she should be delivered. And she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. And she wrapped him in clothes and laid him in a manger. And Jesus was not rejected. He was there safe in the protection of his Father. He was there safe in the protection of his mother. He was there safe where family had cared for them and found place for them, because there was room for them in that place. And Jesus was born in security and love, and in a family who knew him. And in the heavens, the angels rejoiced because there was room for the Messiah.